Hey guys, I'm Andrew with Diving Sports, and today I'm going to be going over the Rob Allen Tuna Speargun. Rob Allens have a reputation for being some of the most solid guns on the market, and they're a great choice regardless of your skill level. They're also some of the most durable spear guns out there, but if by chance you do manage to break a piece on these, they are really easy to take apart and replace any part of the gun. Rob Allens are super consistent, and they more or less use the same pieces throughout all of their different guns, just in different configurations. So the handle and the trigger mech are going to be the same across all Rob Allens. The only one that is going to be different is going to be the Scorpio, which is one of the lower end models, and the only difference is that that guy's going to have a plastic line release, where this one has a metal line release. But other than that, they are all going to have that Vecta 2 handle. Little differences here and there, where you have the options of a loading butt or no loading butt, but all the dimensions of their barrels, whether they're carbon fiber or aluminum, are going to be the same, and they're all interchangeable as well. The only difference there is going to be the length of the barrel on your gun. And all the muzzles and heads are going to be similar as well. So you've got a Rob Allen with an open muzzle, it's going to be the exact same as another Rob Allen with an open muzzle. They're not going to change them between different models. It's just going to depend if you have an open, a closed muzzle, or a roller head. And because they've built their guns this way, you can grab something like the Tuna as an entry-level spear gun, and you can use that for years and years. All you got to do if you want to swap it out is just grab a new barrel, whether you're changing the length or changing the material. You can go from aluminum to carbon fiber, lengthen that barrel, shorten that barrel, and even convert your spear gun to a roller just by getting a different roller head. So you have that option to get one spear gun up front, and whenever you're ready to upgrade, you don't have to get an entirely new spear gun. And because they're so consistent, you can grab a Rob Allen anywhere in the world, and it's going to feel very similar and handle very similar in the water. Whereas going to a different brand where they do have very vastly different models and different setups, they are going to feel and handle differently, and you're going to have to adjust accordingly. But now let's just talk about the Tuna itself. Now this is a really great all-around spear gun, and it's actually very different than the rest of the spear guns that we have in the shop. And the Tuna is an aluminum barrel, and it does have a track on there as well. This guy comes stock with a 7.5mm shaft with a single flopper and a tri-cut tip. And this is where you're going to notice a really big difference between these South African guns and the Euro style guns. Because the shafts are bigger at a 7.5mm thickness, compared to the thinner 6.5, 6.75, or maybe maximum 7 with the Euro style guns, and that longer overhang on these compared to the shoulder overhang on the Euros, these aren't going to be as well balanced in the water. And this is going to tend to be a little bit more muzzle heavy compared to the Euro style guns, which typically are quite neutral in the water depending on the model. So for here in Canada, if you're going to go for something like a lingcod, it's not going to matter too much because a lot of times you are going to be shooting downwards at them. But if you are laying on the bottom and you're maybe doing more espeto style hunting, and you're going to be aiming off the bottom of the reef and you're going to hit something like a rockfish, you may notice that it is going to take more effort to raise up that muzzle of the gun with one hand compared to a Euro style gun. Now, I wouldn't say that one is necessarily better or worse compared to the other. It's really going to be a personal preference thing and your style of hunting, as well as what you're actually hunting. But having a thicker shaft like this is going to give you more punch behind it when you're shooting bigger fish. That tri-cut tip is going to have really good cutting power to get through thick bones. And typically a thicker and heavier shaft isn't going to bend nearly as easily as a thinner shaft. But one thing that people might not like with these shafts is that they do have notches cut into them. But they are a bit better compared to some other brands because Rob Allen does go in and actually smoothen out those edges. So you don't have any really sharp edges to them where other brands do that are going to actually eat away at your Dyneema wishbones. And depending on where you get it, you may have a different muzzle setup, but these guys do come with open muzzles, and you are going to be able to run your monofilament either left or right, depending on what your preference is. And it also comes stock with two 16mm bands. And going back to the handle, we do have that Vecta 2, and it is going to have a glass-filled nylon trigger in there. It's not actually going to be a metal one compared to the other guns that we have. I wouldn't be put off on that. A lot of times the cheaper guns are going to have plastic triggers in there. However, the glass-filled nylon is really durable and really strong. And like I said before, it is going to be the exact same setup across all of their guns. So even the 120 and 130 rollers are going to have that same setup. So it's definitely built to handle anything you throw at it. And the safety is going to be at the top, so pretty easy to access. And then the line release is going to be on the bottom. And having it on the bottom as opposed to on the left or right side is going to allow you to run your mono or a Dyneema whichever direction you like. And you do have that reel bracket on there. It's a dovetail bracket, so you can add a Rob Allen reel onto there really easily. You don't need to remove anything from the gun like you do with some others. Just a really easy slide on there and you're good to go. And you do have that loading butt on the back, and And you can remove that and swap out the cassette if you don't want to have that on there and you just want to smooth back to it, which is how I have my Rob Allens, and I do prefer it that way. I find it a little bit easier to access that safety without the loading butt. And then we do have that shark clip or tuna clip on the bottom, so it's going to make it really easy to clip your gun either to your float line or to the float itself. And so that's it for the Rob Allen Tuna. If you guys want to take a look at this gun, feel free to come down to the shop or take a look on our website. And I'll put the link for them down in the description for you. And as always guys, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.